Okay, so we are getting ready to stream another meeting. This meeting is about our open source process. So this is a kind of a check-in meeting and a planning meeting. We're going to do this over Zoom, which starts in 1 minute. And so let's get the agenda up here. I'll switch over to my desktop so you can see it. So here is the agenda. Stop helping. And I need to create a new section here. Let me get joined to the meeting so that when everybody's ready, they can get on. Okay, so we get screenception, and then we get, let's go to just desktop because that's going to happen there. Okay, so this meeting today is going to be a lot less structured than the one that we did the first time, but that's okay because what we're attempting to accomplish is making sure that we know what the hell we're working on. Who just joined?
Marissa.
Hey.
Hi.
Let me share my screen with you as well so that you can see it. Okay. I'm putting together my agenda because I totally didn't do that ahead of time.
It's okay.
And so I was just kind of talking to myself because I have no idea if anybody's watching this stream right now. Let's see. Yeah, nobody's watching it. That's okay.
You want me to help you?
Yeah, so my goal here was to
Can I go ahead and delete
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah, go ahead. Okay, and so I have some ideas about this.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And this one.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, Mikhail, how you doing?
Good.
Good.
Had to skip second part of webinar.
Yeah, I had to duck out of it too. Okay. So yeah, what I'm attempting to do here is just pull out the things that we need to discuss so that we can really have a clear idea of what we're trying to accomplish today. So a few things. Let's go to a board view. The things that I'm attempting to accomplish here are we had a conversation about kind of yesterday. I realized that I lack some of the context that I need to be able to make good decisions about this process. And so what I want to do in this meeting is identify the things where I feel unsure about what we need to do so that we can set up like the discussions with the right people who can make those decisions, which largely I think is going to be like you, Dustin, Kyle, Mike. So my
Jason,
yeah
do you have initial questions that would help you right now? So like you can,
yeah
like you said, you lack context. So do you have some questions that would help you
yes
understand where you needed to dive in? Okay.
yeah, and so what I'm attempting to figure out here is like there are a couple that I want to discuss here that are the like the process for labeling. Is that Mike? Hey, Mike. Can you hear us?
Not yet.
Not yet. Mike? Mike. Hello, Mike. Nope. No Mike. All right, he'll get, oh, wait. He's
Here.
chatting.
Oh, he's trying to quit the webinar.
Oh, okay.
It won't let people leave.
I know. I had the same problem. It took like 30 seconds to clear up. So let me put this back over here so that we can like see. So still Mike?
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. Sorry. There's a button hidden under a bunch of windows, so I can figure out how to
Wait.
actually.
We were laughing at your very intense stare of like, where is it?
How do I? Yeah.
How do I get out of here? And just as a note, so that everybody knows, we are live streaming this. I don't think anybody is currently watching, but just so
We've got a few people in the stream now.
just so you know.
Yeah. So what I was telling everybody, I wasn't sure if you were going to come, so I'd kind of launched in. But so what I was realizing is, as I've been working on this process workflow, I don't spend enough time in OSS to feel like I have the context to confidently make decisions about how to fix problems. So the goal of this meeting is, first, Marissa has some stuff that she has been working on that we need to review and make sure that it's in the right direction. And then second, I have some areas that I feel unclear on that I want to discuss with, probably each of these is going to require its own meeting, but we can at least kind of get the general gist and then identify how much work is like ready to start versus what work is stuff that we can that we need to set up follow-up meetings for. So Marissa, do you want to go ahead and start actually with the workflow thing?
Sure. Give me just a moment to find it again, because I have 1,000 windows and it's a lot of windows to manage. Hold on. I put it in Slack. What was the name of the channel again?
Workflow automation. Here, let me find it.
You know, I got it.
You got it?
Yeah. I just need to grab that one there. I'll put it in here so that you can all see it too. Okay. And let me pull it up. And then, Jason, I'm gonna take away sharing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you have to let me.
Oh,
You have
okay.
to stop sharing.
Fine.
Sorry. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yep.
Cool. All right, so this is the stale issues automation. So Jason did a kind of a whiteboarding session where he put up this initial idea around stale issues. And so I just put it into Whimsical so that we were able to see it and make edits to it. And have it as a document that is able to be shared out both like with contributors and with the team, so that we're able to know what the process should look like. So what this will do is help us answer initial questions, and we have a solidified flow that people are going to need to go through, and it just helps eliminate questions and ambiguity around what that process needs to be. So Jason, what I would like you to do, because since you since you did the initial whiteboarding, I'd like you to kind of walk through this.
Sure.
And that way, if there are things that are incorrect, we can fix it.
Yeah. Okay. So the idea behind this stale issue check is that we're going to run a daily issue check. And so the first question that we're going to ask on every issue that we hit is, has it been greater than or equal to 20 days since the last time that the issue has been updated? If no, we just hit no action. It's a no op. If yes, then we are going to look to see if there's a PR attached to it. If there's a PR attached to it, then we're going to no op. If not, then we're going to check for a label, which will allow us to keep it from ever being closed by StaleBot, we can change this label, which is, I think there's a greater labeling discussion to be had here, but do we have maybe we can use no triage or something. But we'll have a label that will mark it as being not stale. If it's marked with not stale, again, we no op. If it's not marked as stale, then we would mark it as stale. So then, hold on, something broke here. Yeah, so
this is labeled as potentially stale, I think. So I think that's good.
yeah, so we label it as potentially stale. We post a comment asking if the issue is stale. And then there's like a secondary workflow here. So there needs to be another question in here, Marissa.
There does, and this is where I got a little bit confused because I don't know if we're posting a comment to ask if the issue is stale, then we need a time frame that would kick off that second workflow.
Right. So this is going to get checked every day. So what'll happen is if the issue is not labeled with stale, we're going to check if it's labeled as stale with a question mark. And if so, and it hasn't been 10 days since the last update, we no op.
Okay.
If I can probably jump into Whimsical and help you with this just to make it a little easier.
So they're going to post a comment to ask if the issue is stale, and then say the next step again.
So yeah, so they're going to post like when the issue is 20 or more days old and it hasn't been updated, we're going to label it as stale, and we're going to post a comment asking for more information and letting them know that if it doesn't get updated within 10 more days, that it'll be closed. Right. Then that would end that transaction. Like that would be the end of that check.
Oh, and then it goes into a new workflow.
So yeah, so then the next day, what would end up happening is it would say, has it been greater than 20 days since the last response? Yes. Is there an open PR attached? No. Is it labeled with not stale? No. Is it labeled with stale? And we would say yes. And then if it's labeled with stale, we would say, has it been greater than 10 days since the last follow-up? And we'd also need to check that last follow-up was the bot. And so if it hasn't been greater than 10 days since the bot replied, we would no op. If it has been greater than 10 days, or it's been 10 or more days since the bot replied and there's been no follow-up, then we would close the issue and post an explanation.
Can you repeat this last thing you said?
Yeah. So what Marissa's putting together right now is that if it's not labeled with not stale, and so it'll continue down the workflow. It will be labeled with stale. And so it will get the logical check for whether or not anybody has replied and whether or not it has been 10 or more days.
So if we post a comment asking if the issue is stale, I know that creates a new workflow, but then is this only true? Has it been greater than or equal to 10 days? That's only true for the stale issues. And so
right. So where
this
you're
says that there's going to be no action. Is that true? If it's not been.
That's true, but the flow is missing a piece. So when we post the comment asking if the issue is stale, that's the end of that workflow. So that this hasn't been 10 days. That will happen if the issue is not stable, is not labeled with stale. So where right now where you've got, is it labeled with not stale, and the no goes directly to label as stale, we need another question first. So the first question is it after is it labeled with not stale? No. Then we need to check, is it labeled with stale? So that
okay. Yeah, I need to fix this then. Okay, I understand that. But
okay.
I'll fix it later because that'll take too much time.
Right. So
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
so basically the workflow ends there, but we need to do another check before you jump into the labeling phase.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, cool. So do you feel like you got enough to get that
Yeah.
cleaned up? All right. So then I will take control back. And did you have another workflow to show?
No, I'm working on the bug reproduction today.
Okay. All right. Let me take back over then. Share. Yes. Share. Okay. So yeah, so looking at that, then the list of questions that I want to help clarify is starting with the defining a process for labeling. So I feel like I should move these. Define a process for labeling. So I'm going to send this one to the top, and the other one was defining metrics for quality. And then there were a couple other ones here that some of these need research and some of these need like consensus. So
I thought I commented on that one, but I don't know that I did. So.
well, yeah. So there may be changes here that we need to discuss, but I think so. The YAML stuff, that one is more of like a learning thing or an ecosystem thing. So we're going to need Shannon and Amberly probably to talk about what the format is. As far as formatting YAML goes, I assume you don't have any opinions, right? As long as it's consistent and doesn't cause you a headache.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the formatting parts, hopefully, hopefully, like our incoming auto formatting pull request will take care of that. It's just, I guess we just need to ensure that all YAML files have all needed like fields and stuff like that.
Right. So what my tentative plan is here is to generate a schema for the YAML files that Peril, whenever the YAML files change, it's going to load the YAML file and then loop through all entries and validate that required fields are there, and then validate that there are no fields that don't fit the schema. And then also we're going to check against a whitelist of like categories and tags because there's like spelling errors and things like that. So anytime that a category or tag is added that doesn't match our existing list, Peril's just going to say the following tags and categories were added in this pull request so that you can see quickly like, hey, this is definitely spelled wrong, or I'm pretty sure we already have this category. You should change it to this so it matches up, to just try to help us prevent duplicates and stuff. That will flag Amberly. It's going to tag the ecosystem team as a code owner. So that should never hit your workflow anyways. Or ideally it won't hit your workflow and you can ignore it. So let me make sure there's none of the other ones that we need to look at here. The non-PR stuff is just looking at the GitHub API. Filtered issue links, that one we need to look at. The auto closing stuff is tied to the stale workflow that Marissa just did. Validating site showcase things, that's there's some stuff there that we're not quite ready to discuss yet. Let's see, the flowchart stuff. Let's see, this one is in progress.
Can you assign that one to me again, please?
Yeah.
I selected you so that you'd make sure to look at it. Thanks.
Come on. Okay. So the workflow process research, what's this one?
That was a placeholder. That was from my talks with Mike McCall and Kyle.
Okay.
And we used that initially before we decided to do the workflow process automation stuff. So it's older research that documents some of the pain points we wanted to be sure to solve, but we've already really reviewed it. We've already reviewed it, and B, we've already put it into the Epic, so that can probably be closed.
Okay, so what I'm going to do then...
I just list it as a resource in this agenda.
Okay, I'm going to close this. And did you already linked it here? I'm just going to add it here.
No, I did not link it in there.
Okay, we have this like prior research stuff. Okay, I'm going to update that. And so now we should have, a link to the doc. Okay, so we got rid of that one. That's great. We're closing issues, everybody. So the flowcharts, blog authors have required info.
That's good. I like that.
Let's see. Verify that blog authors have added required info. That's going to be like YAML validation again. Issue templates we need to discuss because I want to figure out what level of effort is useful versus just us doing a lot of work. Okay, so validate, YAML, validate. All right, so that brings us to kind of where these are the things that I want to discuss. So this one, I want to get into this agenda, and this one, the list of filtered links. Damn it. I switched keyboards again, and now I can't remember where any of my keys are. And then we've got the OSS issue dashboard, which is actually just tied to this one, because this is deciding what's going to go on the dashboard, and this is deciding where to put it. The development plan for OSS maintainers, this is like, how do we get people from first-time contributors to being Mikhail, basically. And so we need to discuss like what our...
This feels weird.
And so we need to discuss like what does that actually look like, and then the documentation. So let's just kind of touch on these briefly and see, are these things that we can discuss quickly, or are these things that require like more in-depth meetings? So the issue templates for reproduction links, what we want to do is we want to figure out how to have Peril check an issue that comes in that's a bug and say, I have everything I need for the contributors to actually make progress on this. So the two critical pieces of information, as I understand it, are the two critical pieces of information are the bug reproduction and the envinfo. Is there anything else that you regularly need when you are reviewing bugs?
I think that's essentially it.
Okay. And so the bug reproduction, that can be a repo, which is ideal. That can be steps to reproduce. Can be screenshots. Is there any other way that you get bugs reported regularly?
I don't think we have it, but can we actually run Gatsby in Code Sandbox and other alternatives to Code Sandbox?
Code Sandbox, I think, just released this like today or yesterday. So Code Sandbox is actually, I mean, that feels like it would be even better.
Yeah, that would be the best. Well, we didn't have reproduction post posted like that, so we don't know yet if this
Yeah.
would be best, but it does sound best.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it would be the easiest way because everybody can just click the link and look at it. That
Yes.
may or may not be as amazing as it sounds when in practice, but it does seem like a good idea to kind of start. That being said, are there any other ways that people can do reproductions?
I don't think so.
Okay. So that then brings us to this is kind of the crux of the issue. So this is easy to check.
Yeah.
This gets hard to check because like if we do it the clumsy way or like the naive way, we just check that this section hasn't been left empty. The more complicated way would be to add logical checks that say, do we have a link to either GitHub or Code Sandbox, or do we have images, or do we have a numbered or like a bulleted list or something?
So my thought on that, and obviously that's, I think Mike and Mikhail, you need to make a call on this, but if we just check to make sure it's not empty, do you think that that's kind of a low level effort way to start and just make sure that it's getting filled in? Because I would think that, if we just say, has this not been filled out? And then that kicks it back. At that point, they can put in a reproduction however is easiest to them, and we can see if it works, rather than going to all the effort of putting in these logical checks. Unless it's like we should validate we even need that.
Thinking about the kind of ways that people can report bug, we could probably take screenshots off that list, because just screenshots without any supporting text are not going to be useful. So
that's a good idea.
That maybe makes that a bit easier. But yeah, just checking that there is something in there, I feel like that sounds like a low effort thing that we can add in and see if that's useful. And if it is useful, we can build on it. And if it's not useful, we can either improve it or take it out, I guess.
Okay. So the initial idea then is we're going to do the naive check.
Yeah.
And quick time check. We have 3 minutes, so I just want to make sure that we walk away with to-dos. Like I have a to-do, but I want to make sure that we get through all of the major.
So this one's a to-do. I won't talk details on the rest of these, but the other things that I need are to have a discussion about this list, making sure that the list of links makes sense and that we're not missing anything. Also, some of these introduce new labels and ideas like effort level or component stuff. So those may or may not be a good idea. I need some input from y'all on that. The development plan for OSS maintainers. I love this idea and I really, really want it to exist, but I don't know really even where to start. So there's probably just an issue. Maybe what we need to do is just put 30 minutes on the calendar specifically for this to discuss what it looks like and how to do it. So let me do that. Marissa, can you capture that in the agenda, please? Thank you.
I'm doing it right now, but you got to pull that issue up again.
Oh yeah, it's issue number 931 in Mansion.
Okay. You need one. You need one for the. You also need one for the list of creating a list of filtered issue links, right?
That already exists. It's 8418. So this one just needs review. This one doesn't really need a meeting, unless y'all think it's worth having a meeting.
Who needs to review it? Both Mike and Mikhail?
Mike and Mikhail, and potentially Kyle and Darpan. And maybe Dustin as well. Basically, everybody I tagged in this issue should probably have a look at it.
Okay, so they've already been tagged. So then there just needs to be a follow-up on that.
Okay, I'm going to just post this in the workflow channel.
Yes.
And I apologize for inviting people, but I'm going to do it. I will do it later because that's going to take me too much time.
Can you assign us all to that issue? Is that a good?
Oh yeah, I can do that. Where was it? Here?
Will they not assign? Oh yeah, just assign.
I will assign Kyle and Mike. Oops. And
I don't know
Mikhail.
if anyone else has got anything else coming up. I've got another 10 minutes if everyone else has got another 10 minutes.
I have a meeting at 10.
Okay. Yeah. So was that everybody? Who did I miss? I think that was everybody. Yeah, that's
fine.
that's good enough review. So let's go with what else? There was the documentation. So Marissa, you and I need to talk about this. Actually, I don't know that I need to talk about this. This is more like Marissa and the OSS team because this is going to be the documentation
I need to
on.
meet with the OSS team, but I can't do that until I know what
Right. Okay. So this one's blocked. I'll put this one as this one needs to be marked as blocked. So I'll make a note to do that. And then we are going to define metrics and quality. This one is going to require a meeting. We need to decide how, like, is it reasonable to track quality, and if so, how? Like, what's a way that is not a subjective measure?
that is a separate call that needs to happen after the research has been done with everybody.
So this one's blocked on other things.
Yeah, because we need to understand what the problems are.
Okay.
And make sure we have the workflow, understand the problems. Once we understand the problems, we can decide what metrics we need to get baseline.
Okay.
And then once we have a baseline, we can say, okay, we have a baseline of metrics. Which of those metrics define quality?
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there's just a few things that need to happen before we can do that. But if that is a separate conversation.
Okay. So this one is also a separate conversation because this one introduces workflow for the OSS maintainers. What we're hoping is that this introduces a different way of working that ultimately results in less IC work for you, Dustin, for Mike, Mikhail, Dustin, and Kyle. Because what we want is when you're doing backlog grooming and OSS review, we want you to write up issues in such a way that the community can pick them up more easily. So applying context, adding links to the relevant parts of the code base. We need to have a meeting to discuss that because this is just going to be a lot of work. So that one's a meeting.
I have to go to another meeting, so.
Yeah, thanks for dropping in, Marissa.
Yeah, I put notes in the agenda for next steps.
Thank you very much. And
you'll have to take over and do it from here.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
And then that's really the last one actually, the process for labeling. So from that, what I'm getting out of this is that we have a couple meetings here. The meetings are going to be. Do these get captured? I don't know where she was writing this down. I started taking notes in Slack, so let me pull my Slack over onto the screen share. Is it going to let me do that? Yes.
Cool.
So what I did over here is I just pulled in the meetings that we need to have. So this one in particular, we need to set. This one is just review. So that one's going to be reviewed. I've assigned it to all of you. The documentation is blocked. That one is blocked. So we need to have a meeting about the process for labeling. And we need to have a meeting about quality metrics was blocked. Documentation was blocked. That one needs review. And that one needs review. No, this one needed a meeting. I don't know where she wrote this down.
Is it down at the end?
Oh, she put it up at the top. Okay, that's fine.
Cool.
But yeah, so I need to put 30 minutes on a call for that. Marissa has blocked those things, and I'm just gonna do another note in here so that I've got my chaos notes in one place. I'll consolidate these into the agenda as well. And I think that's everything. Because the OSS development plan, list of filtered issues, yeah, and then the YAML stuff is not an OSS concern. So that makes me feel a little bit better because it's only a few conversations that need to happen. And a lot of the rest of it is just implementing the flowcharts that we will review. Hopefully, I think the way that Marissa has been working on the flowcharts, once we get the first one in place, I'm hoping that by next week she'll have at least 2 of them done so that we can kind of review and finalize though.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, so that I think that's all I had. Like, if do you all have anything that you want to cover before we wrap?
Does it make sense to prioritize those immediate things we want to work on? So that we want to set up meetings and stuff like that, so we can just focus on single task at hand.
That's my hope, is that we can do all the planning up front and just get a list of things we want to get accomplished. We had a discussion. Sam and I were discussing this yesterday. Mike, it may make sense, since you're kind of in and out for the next few weeks, for you to own some of these tasks. So Dustin and Michal would be managing like open source maintenance and PRs. And since rather than you having to come in and get context for the last few days, you would be able to come in and work on these types of automations.
Yep.
Do you, like, you had mentioned in the past that you were interested in doing this type of stuff? Is that?
Yeah, like I'd be totally happy to do that. Assuming everyone else is happy. I don't know. Yeah, basically, I'm happy to work on whatever is highest priority out of everything.
Yeah, so I mean, Sam and I need to talk about it a little bit more just to make sure. But what we were thinking is that I know you're going on holiday here for a week and a half, so we can take the time that you're on holiday to regroup and get all of the planning work done, so that when you get back, the days that you have available, you can just knock things out instead of having to like gather context about what's happened while you were gone, and that way, you know, Mikhail and Dustin can just kind of like keep doing the dream team thing and keep OSS under like moving along. And we like this is very tentative, you know, but that was the initial discussion we have. So if everybody's comfortable with that, that seems like a good way for us to move forward. Otherwise, but like I'll continue to manage the project, so you're not responsible for issue triage or anything like that. Basically, I would be putting together a to-do list for you if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, that sounds totally great with me.
Okay, cool. In that case, I think we're all set. Anything else before we wrap?
So follow-up stuff for us to do is to review the issues that you've tagged us in, and that's it for the moment.
Yeah, I will actually send meeting invites for the additional things, and we'll just do another one of these live stream meetings to discuss the workflows that we need. Yeah, so that one issue that I tagged you on, or the two, it's the list of filtered issue links. Let me make sure that that's actually assigned. It's not. I'll sign that, and y'all don't have to hang out for that, so you can go if you want. Let's go to Kyle, and then we need.
I have just like not really relevant right now question. I'm just curious. Do you have like plan where to put those links?
We can just put them right in here for now. So and
yeah,
we.
I mean, where will those links for people to just click and get to the list of filtered issues?
So that's a discussion that's going to go in here, and so my ultimate goal would be to put this into the contributor dashboard that people are logging in for the swag store. So that way everybody is able to kind of log in and see issues, and eventually we'd be able to filter issues based on the types of issues they close. So if you're somebody who's mostly working on docs, the dashboard would show you docs issues first. That would be like an evolution down the road kind of thing. In the immediate term, what we may end up doing is putting a page in the how to contribute docs that's just here's a list of issues, and then that becomes part of the documentation that Marissa's going to work on. So figuring out what this is going to look like, I think, is also going to be tied into this one here, which is like, what is the documentation that needs to be created and where does it live? So by having that discussion and kind of figuring that out, we should be able to work out what do we want to do now versus what do we eventually want to get to, and decide where to draw the line for scope.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, cool. Anything else?
Cool. That's it for me.
Yeah, same here.
All right. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate you coming in, and we will talk again soon.
All right.
Cool. Thanks. Sorry I didn't make it in on time.
No worries at all. We'll see you soon.
Cool. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.